Raymond, CPA, and Senior Manager, Matt Behnke. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Bart, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Fantastic. Happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Nice to have you here, and we appreciate all that Raymond does in the community. We see Raymond at so many community events as sponsors, as volunteers, as participants. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no, those are the communities that not only we work in, we live in. So there's a responsibility for us to get engaged and have our kind of feet on the ground. We enjoy it.
How long have you been at Raymond?
4 years yesterday, actually.
Oh, happy anniversary, 4 years. Congratulations.
I wanted to get the bell. I really wanted it.
Is this your first job out of college?
No, I worked in public accounting in Florida. Born and raised in Michigan, went to school at Florida State, went into public accounting, and then Florida State hired me to come back. And I was there for 15 years, and then came back to Raymond, and coincidentally enough, I knew of Raymond from their place in the state of Michigan, but we actually engaged them out of the Jackson office partially to do some work for us at Florida State. So it was just another introduction point. So speaks to the Raymond brand.
Awesome. So you grew up in Michigan, went to Florida State. So are you a Seminole, or do you have a Michigan team that you're?
Well, yeah, no, obviously I went to school at Florida State, so it's it's my alma mater. But grew up a Michigan fan, and so it's Go Blue, and I could probably say Go Noles, but I don't think anyone up here would really care about that. So we kind of move on from there.
All right. Being at Florida State, you heard about Raymond because they actually are a client, Florida State.
Yeah.
Is public education, private education at the college and university level part of what is typical business for Raymond?
Yeah, we're very focused on all of our public sector, which include governmental work, not-for-profit, and higher ed. And so it's not just, we have a really strong foothold here in the state of Michigan, but it's also branching out nationally. And all the way from, we're in all the time zones now, Eastern to Pacific, so it's been good. And I think that just speaks to kind of the depth of our experience. We've got a lot of associates that work on this and are dedicated to it and believe in it. And as I said kind of about the communities, it's not just what we do, it's what we believe in. So we move forward that way.
Yeah, we see you at public meetings, at township, city, school board, authority. You do auditing and accounting for all of those organizations.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it takes the whole organization and over 950 associates, and the collective strength and knowledge of the people at Raymond. It was one of the things that attracted me when we were looking to engage them at Florida State, and then as I looked to transition and come back home and raise a family, I had got to see it firsthand, and it was really where I wanted to be, and so it's good.
Great. Well, we're obviously still dealing with COVID. Big impact financially for a lot of businesses and organizations early in the pandemic. Government came out with some programs that I'm afraid there are a lot of companies, organizations that did not take advantage because of lack of knowledge. Things like the PPP, ERC, EIDL. There's so many different things that restaurant revitalization. I mean, if you didn't, it seems like you had to have someone really being an advocate for you to keep an eye out on what you could take advantage of.
Well, no question. I mean, the government through the pandemic and the coronavirus, there were a lot of subsidies and programs and funding to help businesses continue to operate and coexist. We used to laugh, associates of mine in Ann Arbor, we'd drive downtown that city and you'd see a name on a building, but didn't mean that they were still there. And so there have been a lot of marketing efforts from firms wanting to help businesses get the assistance that's available, and certainly we at Raymond are doing that and looking out for our clients, both current clients and prospective clients, to say, hey, look, here are the things that you may benefit from. And it's always a one-on-one case. You need to look at the facts and evaluate it, but and the laws change. So where it was fairly restrictive in 2020, now, it's maybe opening up a little bit to areas that weren't originally included.
Yeah, downtown's restaurant scene really got hammered.
Oh, brutal.
Empty storefront after empty storefront, and it's not back. So a lot of restaurants, mom and pop, there's someone that does their bookkeeping maybe. They probably get a lot of email. Hey, you need to call us. We can help you get the money from this and that. Are there still programs that are out there and available to businesses?
Yeah, certainly, and the one that we kind of see in the higher education piece, but it's across all boards, is the employee retention credit, which originally was not designed or utilized or allowed for public institutions of higher ed. It was private, but it wasn't public. Well, that's changed, and so now as we look and we go through that analysis, but I don't know that all of the companies acted on what was available. Maybe they had other pressing concerns, just trying to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
And so there are these programs that are available, and there's a little bit of analysis that needs to go, but it's not too terribly difficult.
And there are still periods that employers can look at from last year even.
Correct.
That they can apply for. Essentially, it's a credit on payroll taxes.
Correct. Yeah. So what it does is it's a two-part test. One is very black and white, and that's the gross receipts test. And the best way I like to say about gross receipts is unless it's specifically prohibited in the calculation, it's included. Because, and you look from 2019 to either 2020 or more likely 2021 on a quarterly basis, and if you see a 20% drop from 21 compared to 19, or a 50% drop in 2020, you're eligible to go back and try to recapture that credit through some amended payroll tax returns.
So there were a lot of people that thought, oh, well, we're a nonprofit, we're a church, we're a public university, we're a government contractor, we're not eligible for those kinds of things. Wrong.
Yeah. In some situations, that's completely correct. But that's because these laws have continued to be amended to, obviously, as constituents talk to their representatives and they want to be included, and you're starting to see the umbrella kind of cast a wider net.
Do you see any kind of additional programs, looking at this being an election year for the midterms and the fact that we're seeing increase in prices and other, economic issues, that there might be more in terms of relief or help from the pandemic?
Well, I certainly think that if you talk to the people in your community, there's still some people in some situations where people would like some assistance. It's always hard to predict kind of where that's at, but we just saw it with student loan forgiveness. So I wouldn't sit here and tell you that I don't think that there's an opportunity. There likely is, in being election year. You would think that those things maybe shouldn't matter sometimes, but they do, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, good point. That just happened last week.
Yep.
And something else that's kind of new, name, image, likeness, NIL. So suddenly college athletes are millionaires. Are you starting to see that in your business?
Yeah, so I am in some of the consulting opportunities and clients that we work with. I think that what's happened over time is that the student athletes now have a voice, and they've elected to exercise their voice. There are a lot of opportunities, and we hear these big numbers about student athletes that you may see in football or basketball, but it really goes all the way through, and there are opportunities. I don't know how pervasive it is across the entire population, but you certainly have the high earners. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in intercollegiate athletics, because again, it is part of higher education. So we are seeing some of it. I wouldn't say we're seeing as much of it at the community college level, but certainly as you start to get into the larger tiers, we live in this community. University of Michigan's right down the road. Michigan State's right down the road. So we've got a unique perspective to sit back and watch it.
Yeah, I see the potential. Maybe a local car dealer wants to sponsor the junior college soccer team, maybe provide them with a car and give people, an allowance. I think that's the next. We'll be seeing that.
Oh, I don't think it's over by any stretch. I really do believe that it's just the first or second step of it. And as it continues to evolve, we think back 5 years of where we were, whether it was in our own lives or certainly in college athletics where that business was. And we look now and you just think, where could we be in 5 years from now? And that's why the financial planning really matters, and working to make sure that the businesses and the companies and the universities and colleges really kind of have that strategic vision going forward, because it's going to be critical, because the change is so dynamic. It's coming very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think the pandemic saw, suddenly students thought, well, maybe I don't need the big campus, big money experience, and I'll just do my learning online.
Right.
It did really impact a lot of colleges.
Oh, no question. And the reluctance as the pandemic continued to want to put yourself back on campus around people. I can remember being an adjunct professor at Florida State, teaching some accounting courses online in distance learning. And now that is a more common thing, and everyone's being forced to evaluate their students and what the need is, because it's all about enrollment. And where is the enrollment? Where do we need to be? It all trickles down from there. So I don't think it's going away.
Well, yeah, and whether you're a college, a person, a business, financial planning, everyone needs to do it.
No question. It's very important.
You are, I know, happy to speak to anybody, and they can get a hold of you at your Jackson office.
Jackson office, Raymond.com. It's fun to follow people like Dave Page and Bill Burke and come on the show. I've looked forward to it.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Senior manager at Rehmann, specializing in assurance and financial reporting, CPA, Matthew Behnke.